I grew up in a city, in an apartment. But since I was a little kid, I was one of those that likes to play always on the floor, always barefoot. And since as far as I can remember, I had a football with me. We played at the beach, we played in the park, and then very soon I started playing in football teams. And with all the other things that football gives you, one of the things that I liked, that I loved, was the grass. In some cases, even mud, it didn't matter. When I became a teenager, it started to come into fashion these new astroturfs. And I remember thinking, who wants to be on top of plastic? I don't know if it comes from there or if it comes from spending time in nature every weekend, every summer, by the beach, by the mountains in the Basque Country. But I love to be part of it, being in it. Even if it was a park or a small hill near my home or just the beach, just that feeling of not being separated from the planet, not feeling like I'm almost like an alien on this planet that we feel sometimes, where we need a lot of protection and a lot of gadgets and a lot of clothing and a lot of money and a lot of insurances so that we can feel safe. In the animal world and all the other creatures, I never saw them having those things, and they seem content. They seem at peace. So I always looked for a very direct relationship to nature, a feeling of being part of it, a feeling of being included rather than excluded. One thing that I loved was to be able to walk out of my house with my feet without putting on my shoes. My parents took us every summer to a camping site. That was the way the family had holidays. And there you would live for a month or two in the tent, and then they had a caravan, walking out in flip-flops. Sometimes you would just lose them. The beach was a couple of kilometers away, and we would walk, sometimes barefoot, spend the time barefoot on the beach, play football, swim and catch waves. I realized that you could develop resistance in the sole of your foot to feel natural walking and running barefoot. And I loved it. I loved it always from the beginning. To the dismay of my parents sometimes, they used to call me pies negros. So I never go barefoot in the city or to do errands or to go to the supermarket. But as soon as I don't need shoes in nature or when I'm doing yoga, definitely at home, even in the garden, I love to free my toes and reach to the ground. I love to be barefoot. A very simple thing that gives me a lot of day-to-day happiness. Grounding is, take it from an electrical system, a sensation that excess energy can be derived to the ground. Because of our shoes being made out of rubber, we cut that connection to the ground. When you touch the soil, when you rest your physicality on the home, there is a transfer of energies. Our mother, our planet is very generous. So the excess energy that you don't know what to do with because it's coming from maybe conflict or maybe resistance or contraction of any kind, she can use it. She has tons of projects to run energy through. So she will absorb it. And one of the ways that you feel that is that in the place of contact, field of textures opens to your awareness. All of a sudden, a whole new world opens up, which is the world of the textures, the pressures, the sensations in the soles of the feet. Later on, I'm going to go to the editing program, and I'm going to see the video, the audio, the different layers in tracks, yeah? When you're walking barefoot, you add one more track, and a very important one, sensory feedback between the sole of the foot and what you are stepping on. Some steps can go harder, some steps need to be lighter because it's sensitive. At certain point you might need to lean into one part of the foot, front or back, or more on one foot or the other. Your experience of walking, standing, it gets enriched by a new layer of awareness, all that you're feeling in the sole of the foot. Through that field, some of the excess energy that you carry derives to the planet. You are creating like a Faraday cage of protection around you. This bombardment of waves that we don't see, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, the electrical towers, all the electronics at home, you simultaneously protect yourself from that and release some of it into the planet. It calms you down. It calms you down, it makes you feel grounded, settled within yourself. If your body feels at home in the environment, it inspires for you to feel at home in your own body. By lifting ourselves to our upper centers and centralize our identity around our head and around our ideas and our thoughts, we have moved away from the soul, from the ground. We have lost the intelligence of the foot. We squeeze the toes, we put our feet in narrow shoes, we corrupt the alignment of the body by adding heels because we want to look taller. And don't take me wrong, there are social events and moments where that can be a lot of fun, yeah? But in general, it's separating us from our normal way of walking. And our normal way of walking and a normal way to move the foot and the toes is there for a reason. It's part of the evolutionary signature of our bodies. Think about it almost like connect with yet another brain. You have your head brain, yeah? And then people talk about the gut brain. We sometimes say that there is intelligence in the heart. There is another brain or another point of data, of intelligence, of information, and of communication in the sole of the foot and in the palms of the hands. When you open yourself to the ground, you allow your feet to develop that intelligence. And that intelligence reverts through the nervous system, through fascia, through the alignment of your skeleton in an easier way for the energy to flow. Walking barefoot brings you to a place of humility. A bit like a teacher of the middle way. You are invited to adapt your walk to the nature of the terrain. You're more likely to see a flower. You're more likely to look up and get mesmerized at a tree or a nest, or clouds pass in. It makes you closer to the floor. It doesn't feel so far because you're feeling it all the time. So you're going to go down and investigate what lies in the ground. There is a relationship of communication between the foot and by extension the body with the environment that you're walking in that extends from the floor to the whole scenario, to the whole thing that you're living. And it becomes part of you. And there are moments as you walk where the I that is living that experience, the me, it expands. And it's not just this thing, but it's the whole thing that is happening. And your field of awareness both becomes very tiny and very vast. And then when you take that to the sensations in your body elsewhere, as you're walking, you include in the way you walk all the moving joints from your hips, your knees, through your lumbar spine, into your shoulders, your neck, the position of your heart. And it's an incredible experience that I have almost every day. There is pain in my body from life, from age, from injuries. Not a lot, but I always feel this and that in my body. And day after day, I go for a walk with Moe, and I come back, and the pain is gone. There is an alignment with the flow of things that makes things flow easier. And that inside the body translates in less pain, in a body that is relaxed. You have to look a little down. You have to go a little slower. Every thought will get interrupted at some point by, ooh, a stone, a river, a lizard. But then you also realize that you're a neighbor with all these things. And you find your foot wanting to step, and then you see a flower and it just steps on the side because you don't want to step on the flower. Or there is a little snail. Because you don't feel separated, because you don't feel special, the value of all life that is felt seems the same. You, your dog, the bird, the tree, and it doesn't feel bad. It feels the way it is. And if there is a privilege as the holder of, let's say, a more evolved consciousness, is to be able to be the one that appreciates the beauty of the coexistence of all of us together. Maybe the bird is so much a bird that does not have time to look at the sunset and say, wow, what amazing sunset. Maybe the lizard or the tree are so much what they are, so embodied, so in absence of resistance to themselves, that they don't have a narrative of appreciation. You get to be the one that says, wow, to have this moment when you go like, this is what we are here for. By enriching your experience through one of the senses, it inspires all of them to open. You are more likely to feel the touch of the wind in the palms of your hands. You are more likely to appreciate not just the things, but the light. And the way light is reflected in nature, in animals, in objects, in water. You still have memories, you still have thoughts, you still have plans, you still have worries. But they need to coexist with all this ecosystem of perception. So in a way, the thoughts, they get democratized. It's not just that you feel more things at the same time, it's that all the things are related. So then when you think a thought, it will create a sensation in your body. But this sensation now is not unfelt, is not unseen, is felt as everything else and immediately put in relationship with everything else. That creates a feedback loop that makes it return from the body into the thought process, extend through you into the environment, will bounce back, return into the body, and come back up into thought. It's not just thinking, it's not just meditating, it's the two dancing together. And what happens when this process is let loose, when you relax into it, is inspiration and creativity, they really seek you in these moments. You just walk, you just feel, you're super present, and all of a sudden you get an idea. All of a sudden you get, I want to do that. You get a memory of something that is important that you have forgotten. You remember someone that you want to call and reconnect with. It almost feels a little bit like there is a permeability to the dream world, but during the awakened hours. And you can't chase it. You really have to relax into it. Sometimes if I'm creating for a video or for a class, if I get stuck really trying to chase it, it runs away. So I've gotten used to the feeling that, okay, this is what I want to kind of synchronize with, let it go. And often, at certain point, it hits me. And then you unpack it, which is very different than chasing something with thoughts, kind of trying to scrutinize and find out what is the best solution for this or that, while it seems like it's water running through your fingers. It hits me at least the beginning of it, or a sentence, or an angle. Sometimes the full thing, people call it downloads. I don't know if I like the word that much, but it feels like the whole thing comes in one. Two people that live in you get liberated when you walk barefoot, when you live barefoot. One is the child. When you grow up, everybody stops playing. It's kind of the main communication between humans when we are little, between us and the environment, between us and time, empty time, what we do, we play. And then it comes to a point where we get serious enough, and then we don't play anymore. Barefooting in general makes you a child, because you could do it faster, easier, more efficiently, and you are on purpose slowing things down to feel the process. That's so childish, but in the best possible way. And then simultaneously, the other one that gets freed is the animaliness. You're going to see your feet dirty, your hands dirty, you're going to have scratches, you're going to have a little bit of blood here and there, it's going to hurt. You're going to have to put your hands on the floor and climb in a more animalistic way, and you're going to encounter many of the difficulties that animals encounter when they walk in this world. You develop an animal instinct. You realize over time that even when you're not looking down, your foot is going to sense when there is danger and kind of step a little softer when there was a stone or when there was a spike. You also see, for instance, with Maui, there are places that he's never been, climbing up or climbing down. He goes with full hope that he's going to make it. There is a soft relationship with those first layers of fear that we had when we were children, that we would see the possibility rather than seeing the problem or the pain, and sure, we got into accidents. But as we recoil from that innocence, I think we recoil too much. And then we develop this cast, this armor of fear around the very first layers of uncertainty. Being close to the ground, being close to nature, being barefoot, puts you in contact once again with your inner child and with this animalistic nature that we all carry inside, with the earth and the sand and the dirt under your nails and all those things. People always ask if it hurts. Yeah, it does. I feel different intensity of sensation that I could easily group under the umbrella of pain. But it's too undefined of a word. And because it's a negative word, we move away from all the things that are under the umbrella. That gives us the other thing that we like so much, comfort. But when comfort becomes an addiction, that you have to dial so many little wheels until all the parameters are according to your wishes, not only it reduces your world, but also makes your mind totally neurotic. The experience that you have is many different sensations, many different textures. And if there is a baseline that you would call basic comfort, they usually spiking around the line. Sometimes you step on surfaces that it feels like, oh my God, you're stepping on a cloud, yeah? And that also feels amazing, like you step on mud or on fresh, wet grass that is soft, still early spring. I like also the arrival to the ocean when it's really cold and it hurts a little bit my ankles, but in this kind of way. Every so often you hit your toe on a rock, every so often you cut a bit. But overall, I don't feel at the end of the walk that I'm in pain. I feel like I have received a session of acupuncture in the soles of my feet. But the overall experience is one of aliveness and one that makes your relationship to the small to mild challenges in life, the small to mild pains in your body, the small to mild limitations that you feel when you're aging. So it gives you a relationship to all those of participatory acceptance. You never feel excluded. You feel that you are part of that experience, that you are working and walking with that experience. And it is true. Sometimes you hit a rock, but sometimes you hit your head against the counter, and sometimes you hit the elbow against the corner of the door. It happens. I enjoy living with a little less comfort and a bit more feeling, a few less layers of protection, and a higher definition of my interaction with reality, a higher sense of proximity. From our basic understanding that you have one way to step, pop-on, you have 300 million ways to step. You have like Like imagine your hand, yeah, maybe not that much, but nearly. Your foot adapts to the step, and how that translates into the alignment of the rest of the body. Literally, you are having a therapy session. You are giving yourself a gift. You are giving your health a gift. And that whole experience will be inserted, first of all, in enough time. You're not going to be able to go to a barefoot walk in a rush. Also, it will force you to look for a beautiful environment. You're going to choose a beautiful nature place. Maybe you are lucky and there is no Wi-Fi connection, no phone connection. And then the food seals these conditions into both a conversation with the planet, and then through the food's response to that conversation, into your body alignment, into your body bioelectrical system. It's awesome.